moment.
If you ask the four of us who Joe Boyd was, you'll get four very different answers. He is our father, but that doesn't mean we all knew the same man. This podcast exists because of him, but it isn't about defending him or condemning him. It's about telling the truth of what it meant to be shaped by one larger than life, yet very complicated human being from four very different places. This is Inherited Truths, and this is where our story begins. Well, hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'll give everybody a moment, but welcome to our pilot episode of Inherited Truths. And our first episode is called Who is Joe Boyd? So, this is us. And I'm going...
That makes me so emotional.
It's okay. Let it
You
be.
did such a good job. You did such a good
dancing
job.
and walking around. I don't know about you guys, but that was difficult.
That was beautiful.
Thanks, guys.
I haven't seen him move in a long time.
Me too.
I haven't seen anything about him moving.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. We're all emotional. Isn't that sweet?
I love this. I love this. Look at us. Yes.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do after we take a moment to just kind of get in the room is we're going to start with introductions. And what I think we're going to do is start with our firstborn and just move through. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Word.
Great.
Oh, so I got to introduce myself.
You're the firstborn. You're
You're the first.
This is not like the firstborn. It's not.
My name is Keith. My name is Keith Harris. I'm just recovering from a emotional shock of seeing my father dancing, and it's been years since I've seen him move, and that moved me in ways that I never thought that it would move me. I was 37 years old when he died, and I'm 8 years older than my closest sibling.
That's right. And your mother?
My mother is Lillian Harris.
Sweet. Lillian.
Oh, Renee, you did such a beautiful job. My name is Lillian. My nickname was Bambi for most of my growing up. And I was 29 and a half when Daddy died. And I was 15 years old when you were born, Vinay. And I was 18 years old when you were born, Brianna. And my mother's, my biological mother was Gloria. And the mother who raised me, Daddy's wife of 25 years, was Inez.
Hi, my name is Vinay. And I am... my father died 3 days after my 14th birthday. I am 3 years older than our youngest sibling, Brianna, and my mother's name and her mother's name was Linda Boyd.
Is. Linder. Hi, I'm Brianna. I'm the youngest. And the most fabulous. No, I'm just kidding. If I was in a room full of anyone else, that would fly. But I ain't the most fabulous here. I ain't even trying to front, but I was trying to front for a second. I'm 0 years older than our youngest sibling and 26 years younger than our oldest sibling. And my mother is Linda Boyd.
And how old were you when Daddy passed?
Oh, and I was 11 and a half when Daddy died. I was in 6th grade.
Yes.
And I got my period like a couple weeks later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were in like, puberty and all that kind of stuff.
It was a month after 6th grade started. It was a month after middle school started and a month before my period.
Wow. Well, now that we've done introductions, before we talk about who he was to us, let's talk about and let's start with who Joe Boyd was as a man on paper and in the world to other people. So we're going to let Bambi tell us about that.
I'll try and do a good job of doing a succinct chronology because there are a lot of tempting stories along the way, but I will do my best to resist and just give the facts as best as I can.
You got this, sis. You got this. You're the historian. You got this.
All, yeah, for chiming in. So Joe Boyd, Joseph Boyd Jr., our father, was born in August of 1917 in St. Louis, Missouri, to David Boyd, who is in the front there, and Lillian Hollingsworth Boyd, who is holding him in her arms right behind Joe Boyd. And he was the youngest, the second and youngest child. That's not, there we go, the Uncle Harold is in the white shirt in the front, and he was about 8 years older, and it was just the two of them. And Joe Boyd Sr. was he worked as a chef for the railroad on the personal car of the president of the railroad. And I can't remember there we go. I can't remember what the name of which one of the roads, because there were several that came through St. Louis. And that was pretty prestigious back then. And our grandmother Lillian was a housewife. And again, I said Uncle Harold was 8 years older. The best of my recollection is that when Daddy was around 2 years old, our grandmother Lillian got religion. And I mean, she got religion. She became incredibly devoted, and it was the game changer in how the family was run. Daddy had memories of Sunday from sunrise to sunset, being in church, hellfire, damnation, the things that were all the sins being bad, and then there were church events, church meetings throughout the week. He ended up, and he doesn't have any memories without the religion. However, Harold was not raised like that, and one of the nicknames that came up for them was Night and Day. Harold being night and Daddy being day. And Daddy had memories of Uncle Harold being beaten so thoroughly that one parent would hold him down while the other parent would beat him like with a belt until tired and then switch off and the other parent. So Harold was not shaped, it seems, by the religion.
Well, if that doesn't make your day, nothing will. Watch him now night get his ass whooped. To the motherfucking day real quick.
Right? And Daddy, for real. And so Daddy's earliest memories were again church, lots of church. But Daddy was he was gifted. He was gifted. So there are memories of him being precocious. And from the earliest days. But he was also very good in school. And so but before we get to high school there, let me just a couple of little things just to kind of, I think these are really important to understand about Daddy and his mindset, because he was so confident. He was just so just there was no chip on the shoulder. He grew up in St. Louis at that point was considered like the most segregated city in the country, and that he did not see his first white person until he was like 9 years old. I mean, his world was a black world. It was a world of black. It was an efficacious world. He had books of Black heroes, Black war heroes, Black inventors. And so for him, it was not incongruent that he thought of himself in a very positive way. The other thing, and I won't go into it, I won't tell the whole story, but he was a Depression baby. And just before the Depression, just before the stock market crashed and the bank runs, his mother, our grandmother Lillian, was finally successful at convincing our grandfather, Joseph Sr., to finally sell his side hustle, which was a bar. Obviously, for religious, spiritual reasons, she wanted him to stop owning that bar. And he sold the bar just before the stock market crash and the bank run, and had the cash in his hand. So while others were, of course, devastated during the Depression, it's like they had more money than other folks in the neighborhood. And Daddy, he exploited. He would tell stories of how he would bribe other little boys in the neighborhood to do his chores for day-old bread, stale bread, because they were so hungry. And when grandmother Lillian found out, she whooped him. That's one of the main reasons he got a whooping, was for doing that. And it would be whatever sports season he decided it was going to be, because he was the only one that had equipment. So he's the only one with a football, a baseball, and a bat. So it was football season when Daddy said it was football season. So that really shaped him. If you figure that, because he was like around 12 years old when the stock market crashed. So he got through that, and then went to University of Michigan. A Black man in 1935. There we go. At U Michigan at Ann Arbor. And again, I won't go into all the stories, but he had a traumatic experience with the ROTC that really cemented for him racial injustice when he realized that he was being treated, he and like the one or two other Black guys in the ROTC were being treated very differently than the other ROTC, what are they, cadets, whatever they are. And so as a result of that, he had a very negative opinion about the military. And there's a story as to how he got there, because he was avoiding the draft after he graduated. Oh, and before I mention that, he was a chemistry biology major, and
he was
his
chemistry undergrad, chemistry, bachelor's of science in chemistry.
There you go. And so, thank you. And so he had an uncle, Aunt Pearl's husband, who was a doctor from the Caribbean, who was really trying to encourage Daddy to go into medical school straight from undergrad, but Daddy didn't want to. He said he wanted to be a beach bum or a hobo. He was not interested. And so kind of like, thank you, no. And then when he graduated and the draft became aggressive for World War II, he was not having it because of his negative experience and with the ROTC. And so he started like hopping trains for a while until they finally caught up with him. And then wait,
there's more. Can I add 2 elements of this nugget here? This is important. So when Daddy graduated, he was top of his class. And there was a chemical company that would come and recruit the top 5 graduates from U of M. And so Daddy wasn't recruited because of his Black ass, but he didn't know that because his ass thought he was a white man because he was raised in segregation. So he went to the interview. He thought, oh, they must have skipped me. They must have made a mistake. So he got on a suit and he went and he interviewed with the chemical company. And they said, okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Boyd. And of course, blink, blink, stare. They didn't hire him. And that was when he said his world shattered. Like, he understood the ROTC, but when he understood that he wasn't actually going to be able to get a job at the top of his class, that's when his world shattered. And then he wasn't going to go and die for a country that would lynch his ass. So he dodged the draft. But what he did was that so you had to register for the draft within 60 days of moving. So what he did to dodge the draft is that he would register for the draft and then move. And then he would wait 60 days. And then he would register
right before the days that expired. I heard the story also.
And so then he would register and he would move again. And so he wasn't out of compliance because he kept registering within 60 days and then kept it moving. So he would wait the 60 days, register, move, wait the 60 days, register. And that's how he dodged the draft. And not because he wasn't, patriotic or he cared very much. He wanted to have that, but he wasn't going to do the nigger shit. So that's why how he dodged the draft.
Yeah. No, I heard
But
that
so how did
also.
so when they finally caught up with him, what was the
I don't know
technicality
that
then?
the story. Do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Time
Keith,
ran
do
out
you
on
know
his
the
butt.
story?
That's all. They caught up with
Yeah.
him.
They caught up with him, and
Yeah,
so
caught up with him. Time ran out.
they brought him
It
in,
worked out for a
and
while for him, but and he had a method about it. I mean, he would only notify him when he knew he was leaving, but
I
right
love that.
before the 60 days.
Yeah. And so how he ended up in the U.S. Air Force is, again, he went with it whenever they finally caught up with him, and he was at that center where they induct you, or whatever the term is.
What's it called?
He flirted. Enlist. And so he flirted with the young lady behind the desk, and she had the leverage to, whether it was to sign him to go overseas and fight, in battle, or some other assignment. So she assigned him, like he taught like electronics or something. And I can't remember what
you know if she was a white woman or a black woman?
I don't remember. I don't remember the detail, but one way or another, he charmed her. He charmed her, and yeah, and so he taught electronics somewhere. I want to say in the Midwest, but I can't remember where. So here he's wearing the U.S. Air Corps T-shirt, but he was stateside, and so then I think it was after that he then went to the University of Illinois and got his master's in advanced mathematics, and really math more than science was his passion. He felt that calculus was the language of the universe, and he loved math, and he learned along with the subject matter of math also how to teach it. So he came back to St. Louis and taught at Sumner High School, where he had gone to school. And again, I won't go into the whole story now, but it's a story. He was so successful at teaching them in this study group method that his students rose to the second highest scoring in the in the district. And so they sent some white administrators, because obviously there was something going on at this black high school, this black segregated high school. They went to investigate to see what this fraud was. And because I won't tell the whole story, but it basically, because there's a time to tell the story, because I think it involves Inez, the mother who raised me. But as a result of how that went, Inez was finally able to convince him to go to medical school, that if he became a doctor, that he would be independent and wouldn't have to deal with this kind of white racism. So that at the age of 35, 36, he went to Meharry, where he was again, it's kind of top of his class, but also one of the oldest students, and did very well there at Meharry. And there he is in the Omega. He was a Q dog at Meharry, and so I think that's a good place to stop. And please chime in. Is there anything else? I think we kind of got. Just little thing. He was a lefty that had a cast put on to make him a righty. So for those of you who know about brain and what can happen to someone in trauma, he stuttered for many years into his early adulthood. He stuttered as a result of that and some other kinds of side effects. So he said that if they had the diagnosis when he was a kid, he was very clearly ADD, ADHD, and that ADHD. Yeah.
Yes, and ADHD. Now we diagnose ADHD, inattentive type, hyperactive type, or both. Yeah. And the best part of ADHD is we don't outgrow it. So if he would have given himself that diagnosis as a kid, he would have for surely been ADHD as an adult, because we don't outgrow that particular diagnosis.
That's amazing. Thank you, Bambi, for taking us down the lane and literally, opening the door into our father's, lineage and his upbringing. That was extremely interesting and thought-provoking and eye-opening. I want to talk.
One thing that Daddy told me when he was growing up too, that I think is interesting and relevant in the context, is I remember we were on a plane to Hawaii when I was 5. And I remember sitting next to him, and I saw there was a tiny hole in his head. Do you guys remember that? It's like a tiny scar, like a tiny hole, it's like a blackhead. And And I was 5, and I said, "What happened to your head?" And he said, "I was stoned." Of course, my 5-year-old ass is like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "White children threw rocks at my head." And I was like, "What do you mean they threw rocks at your head?" And he told me the first time he saw white kids, they stoned him. And of course, I'm upset. I'm all freaked out. And my mom's like, "Joseph, do you have to tell her this thing? She's 5. Like, do you have to tell her? Can you wait till she's 10? Like, can we tell her at 10?" Like, well, turns out he didn't make it much longer than 10. So I'm glad he told me. But that was also a story that he shared with me about his childhood growing up in segregation.
Oh. I wanna talk a little bit about his personality. Let's elaborate a little bit about his personality. What were some of the memorable things about Daddy's personality that each one of us remember?
His laugh.
Keith?
Yeah, I mean, he was a pensive man. He thought about things sometimes, not always. He would amaze me at how far from the poles he would swing. Sometimes he would be so pensive and so thoughtful about something that it would amaze me. And then other times he would just, he was easy to provoke and erupt into a rage. You know, I didn't see that much. I saw it once on a ski trip. And I was actually kind of anxious to see how it would develop, to be honest with you. We were late getting back to the bus. Is with the Ujama Ski Club, the Black Ski Club. Do you remember that, Bambi? The fight. So we were getting on the bus, and Joe was late. Apparently, he had fallen into some powder and lost his ski. And you know, it's real hard to get out of powder. You're getting 5 feet of powder. You in trouble. You're gonna spend a half hour trying to get out if you don't know what you're doing. And he didn't know what he was doing. Okay, so he spent an hour trying to get out. Got back to the bus. Everybody was mad because the whole trip the departure was delayed. And so he's getting on the bus, and one of the guys, there was only one seat. There was 2 seats left. One that was like in the middle of the bus there, and one that was, way back in the back somewhere. And I don't even think that was a seat. Joe gets, he says, can I have a seat? And guy has feet across the seat. And he said, you sit your ass at the head. Go to the head and sit down. Before I could blink, Joe was reaching to grab him to choke the shit out that man. And everybody on the bus was reaching, trying to grab Joe and pull him off of him. It happened like that. He went from, the guy said, "You go sit in the head." And Joe was quiet. He looked back where the head was and looked at him and just, and he didn't say shit. He just went for it.
And in hindsight, if what I know about ADHD, right, limited resources, and digging yourself out of some powder for some hours.
and when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's what I would have done.
Because you, my friend, have ADHD too. As do I.
I was like, yeah, I would have jumped on his ass too and get him.
Bambi, what about you? Who was you?
Of course, he was my sun, moon, and stars. I mean, there was something. Daddy just lit up rooms, and not in this, we've talked about like what was going on with this man. Was he, but he's just really special. He just he was so warm, larger than life. And I remember like at a certain point, like, I wish your daddy was my daddy. And then we're talking little white kids, that he just, he had a warmth. Again, it's like the, and that was for the room. And then if you were in the foreground as someone who was special to him, I mean, just, to be his little princess, to be his, he just, it was like I said, it was like being warmed, by the sun. And I have, before he left for y'all's mama, I have very few bad memories of him. Again, he left when I was 11. Most of them were just, he was Yeah, he was kind. I mean, just, he spanked me twice. And the time he used a belt, I mean, he was devastated. He was devastated. So he didn't do that again. And then there was one time I tried to give him a little, like, I was like, he was sleeping and taking a nap, and I was like, open your mouth and close your eyes. And I put a little piece of dog kibble in his mouth. And when he realized what it was, he popped me once on my booty. I was devastated. I went to Mama. Daddy spanked me. It's like, those are the two instances. Those are the two instances. And, he was just, when he would come home from work, the door would slam and it would be, I'm home. And it's like, I'd come running and jump into his arms and he'd twirl me around. And that's, just a lot of, a lot of really fond memories. And, of course, later on, things got crazy. There were things that got started he didn't finish.
We are on a podcast.
All of that. We'll get into all of that. But basically, Joe had a way of being many things at once. Charismatic, complicated, loving in moments, aggressive in others. But he wasn't just one thing. And that's the part that made loving him so confusing.
So what would you say, Renee? What's the thing you would say about his personality?
I would say he was larger than life, and the attraction in the room. He could show up in any room and everybody would just literally focus directly on him. That's what I would say.
You remember that?
I do. I remember going to the parties, when we would go to the parties, and then Joe Boyd's here, and he was the life of the party. He was the life of the party. I remember Christmas, we'd have Christmas parties, and he was just floating around to everybody and just making everybody laugh. And it was,
wow, I have no memory of that. Wow.
You have no memory of that. That's crazy. What memories do you have?
I have memories of Daddy reading to me. I have memories of Daddy reading to me in the chair.
So he was kind. I love that.
I have a memory of me choking to death and him saving me. Do you remember that, Benet?
I don't.
We were at the kitchen table, and I choked on chicken bone. And Mom starts to lose it, right? Mom's fucking freaking out, which is, of course, appropriate.
Yes.
Daddy doesn't say anything. Daddy's just ripping up a piece of bread. And Mom's screaming, she's choking, she's choking, she's choking. And Daddy just rips up a piece of bread. He's ripping up a piece of bread. And he just gives me the bread. He says, eat this. And I swallowed it, and the chicken bone went down. So I remember him saving my life.
Wow.
But I remember he was warm. I remember he was just like my daddy. Like, I remember feeling very close to him. I felt like I could be like all up in this shit. I remember him dictating his notes a lot. I remember him wearing jogging suits, but I don't remember him socializing. I mean, I guess I remember him socializing with like Aunt Barbara and Uncle Jerry, but I don't remember him and you, Keith. And we go to the football games. But I don't remember him being like the life of the party. I don't have any memories of that. I remember he would go on rounds and he would make me recordings of the readings. Like, he would read me bedtime stories. So he would make me a recording of the readings of the bedtime stories, and I would listen to those. But I don't remember him being. I remember him being gregarious and larger than life. I just don't remember him working the room at parties.
That's fascinating. We have such 4 different perspectives.
How old were you?
Which me?
When Daddy got sick.
5.
And
so Benet was 7, 8?
7, 8. Yeah.
7, 8.
So I want to do something important. I want each of us to answer the same question without interruption. We're going to finish the sentence. Joe Boyd was the father who... I'm going to go to Keith first.
Was the father who was a secret.
Oh.
And he was really just a friend. So I didn't have any of the, attachments or, obligations or thought processes of him being such and such to me growing up, because he wasn't around me enough when I was growing up, period.
Wow.
He was just a friend. He was a guy I met when I was 10 years old. And then he started coming around a lot. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? And it was like, oh, he's your godfather. So I just took that. I didn't even know what that meant. But, I guess it was somebody come by every now and then and take you somewhere after dinner or lunch or something. So I'd see him once or twice a year until I was older. And so I never really had a relationship with him. It was a furtive relationship. It was secret. And so, and the first time I met him, as he gave me $100 bill. That had a big impression on me because I wanted to be like anybody who could flip out some money like that. So, I looked at that car and I look at, of course, my mother was, complicit in the brainwashing to get me to be what I ultimately ended up. But that played a role in it. But he was basically kind of like a sugar daddy. He'd come by every now and then. Whenever he showed up, he'd give me a bunch of money, and and that's all it was. We'd have very seldom would we talk. I mean, we didn't talk very much at all until we moved to Los Angeles, and then I was in high school, and then we would have more interaction. But it was most of our interaction was through chess.
Wow. We're going to get into that. We're
When did that start?
Dive in. Well, we'll dive in. We'll dive into that. We'll dive into that.
Hold on. My ADHD wants to know for scaffolding. How old were you when the chess start?
Oh, 15.
Okay. Bambi. Joe Boyd was the father who.
Oh, I feel like I should do two of them. There's a kind of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde response, right?
Yeah.
There's the romanticized answer to that, and then there's, especially with events in my recent events in my life that are helping me really come to grips, with the complexity. So I'll do the Dr. Jekyll positive one first. He was a father who just lit my life, lit my world up. Like I said, he was my sun, moon, and stars. He was my absolute favorite person. I just, I loved him so much, and I just wanted to be around him, be with him, and seemed to be providing that imprint especially as a Black woman, to have a positive imprint of a Black man, and I thought that was shaping positively how I related to men. The Mr. Hyde, has been the realization that, Teddy, he was the father who started things, but didn't finish with me or really any of us. And he groomed me, I think unintentionally, but nonetheless, he groomed me to be abandoned, catastrophically abandoned, betrayed, and groomed to be attracted to men who have been increasingly unhealthy, to the point where the last one was a sociopath. And it's like as I retrace what happened, it's like, it's like Daddy, the good guy, because my mother, the one who raised me, she seemed like the bad one, and she was narcissistic and abusive, and so it seemed like it was all her fault. Like, no, the grooming was from Daddy. So I'm wrestling with all of that.
Yeah. I would say Joe Boyd was the father who, I had a very different experience than all of you. And I'll save that for a little later, but I'll just say Joe Boyd was the father who was there. He was there. I will elaborate more later, but I just always remember him being there up until
like present.
Present. He was always present. Yeah, he was always present. That's what I remember about Joe Boyd. And you, Brianna?
Joe Boyd was the dad that died.
Yeah.
I mean, he was more than that. But that died. In my experience, that was my dad was the dad that died.
What's so striking is that none of these stories cancel each other out, and yet they don't fully overlap either. One man.
Especially you and me, Benet, right? Like We grew up in the same house, the same decade, with the same fucking bio parents. And you're like, he's the guy who's always there. I'm like, he's the guy who's fucking gone. Like,
one man, four realities, you know?
So can I just ask, the two of you, it's like, it was a real memory for me, you know, like when I lived with you all for that 7-8 month window, in 84, right? Ish, about how you all would put on all these performances, and Daddy would, I mean, faithfully
front row seat.
as you all improvise these performances, dancing, singing, you know, acting, and he was so faithful. Do you remember that?
Absolutely.
I absolutely remember that too.
You don't, or you do?
I do.
Yeah. He was always
so sweet.
Yes.
Yep.
You're like, it's showtime, and here you come.
So at some point, I love this. I love all of this. At some point, all of us stopped seeing Joe as just dad and started seeing him as a human being. And for me and Brianna, it's going to be very different than for you and for you, Bambi and Keith. But when did that shift happen for you, Keith?
Well, it was topsy-turvy for me, right? Because I never saw him as dad in the beginning. I saw him as a friend. I mean, he was just a friend, you know, and he was a brilliant friend and a very helpful friend. And he was obviously interested in my, you know, my well-being going forward, you know, and how I was doing and how I would do, and about my choices. And we would have a lot of conversations about that type of stuff. And so, you know, in the beginning, it was always an easy relationship until the relationship was declared, and then it became uneasy. So when I became his son and he became my father, then all of a sudden there were things that I had to do in his mind, that I needed to complete these tasks for us to be whole. For some reason, I don't know that that's the explanation to be whole, but he just had these tasks. You know, okay, well, now you got to do this. You got to meet this person. And he wrote out this long list of shit I had to do. And I was like, you know, I wasn't real happy about that, about this list, about all this stuff. And, you know, it was a little bit disturbing. But I took the list. Later, I would burn it. I regret burning it because it had a whole history of all the family and stuff like that. But I did, you know, you do things in anger that you regret. And I certainly regret burning that list. I burned that son of a bitch up, though. So, you know, our relationship was easy until it wasn't easy. And then it was easy again. And I will say that our course of our relationship was one of, it had a chaotic path. It was upside down, right? I mean, it was kind of upside down, but you know, in the end, I got a pass. I got a real lucky thing because he and I fell out and didn't speak for 6 years. We did not speak for 6 years.
Baby, when was that? How old were you? When was that? Like, when was that related to medicals? When was that?
That was when I was in Merced and practice. I mean, it started in medical school and it went forward. It started when I was in my second year, I think.
Do you remember what started it?
Oh, it was mainly because I wouldn't go see Aunt Pearl. I wouldn't carry out these tasks that he had made for me. Aunt Pearl was very significant for him, and it was important that I go see her and that she see me, and I have some kind of I guess he never said the relationship thing, but I guess that was important that I have some relationship with her. And when I went, these people didn't know me. He didn't take any time to introduce me to these people. He just gave me a list and said, go see this person. Okay, I'd never seen these people before in my life. And so I drove down there to South North Carolina to see her. And
Durham.
Of course, they look at me. I mean, I'm in medical school. I'm a grown man. They've never seen me before, and so she welcomed me as best she could, I guess. And but they went somewhere, and the house was locked, and my stuff was in the house, and I'm sitting out on the porch for 4 hours. And as I'm sitting there for those 4 hours, I thought, I will never be sitting on somebody's porch waiting to get in to their house that's supposed to be a relative of mine, because all the relatives that I know, when I get to their house, they give me an extra key.
Yeah.
Because those are the relatives I know that I've been used to dealing with. And so I promised myself that day I would never be back there again, not ever. Okay? And so I left, and I never went back, ever. And that was the schism. He demanded that I go back. And I demanded that he go fuck himself.
Well, there you go. Okay.
And we didn't speak for 6 years after that shit.
All right, Bambi.
Wait. Quick question. Why did you start talking again? Was it his cancer? Why did you start talking?
It was before. That's why I say I was very lucky. I was one of the most fortunate people in the world. So this is what happened. I
want to get into that later so we can have more episodes.
Yeah, but there's a reason for that.
Because my ADHD is down.
Completely happenstance. It was completely happenstance how it happened. It wasn't the cancer though.
Well, that's how Benet happened. So we'll get there.
But it could have been. It could have been, but it wasn't.
So Bambi, when did you stop seeing Joe as just dad?
Before I answer that question, can I suggest that there's a clarifying? I think there's some clarification that might help if anybody else is going to look at this about Keith and my birth circumstances. Right, that we're the love children. We're the out and out love children, and we're both family secrets in very different ways. Again, Daddy brought me home. I won't go into the story of it, but Daddy brought me home to his wife, and I was raised with him. But Keith was the love child that was, and I'll let Keith explain it his own way. So, it's when he's talking about like he was a friend and whatnot, it's really fucked up. It's really crazy. And technically all four of us, right, were birthed through his mistresses, that he married, your mom before you all were born, but it's like we are four children of
he was still married to her mama. During a chess game.
What did you say?
There by for lunch. We would have lunch at Linda's house because she lived in Santa Monica. And I'd be at a chess tournament. They sometimes go for 3 days. They start Friday. It would be Friday night. You get out at 12 o'clock midnight. Then they go all day Saturday from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10, 12 o'clock at night Saturday. So in there you would have like an hour and a half break in the middle, so you go get some lunch and get yourself together before your next round starts in the afternoon on Saturday. So for that afternoon, at least a couple of times, we went to Linda's house for lunch.
Oh, wow.
Because it was at the Santa Monica Chess Club out there on the cliffs, one of the best chess clubs in the damn country. I want to say that because Isaac Cashdan, Grandmaster, was running that club, and I loved him. I was so unhappy when he died.
I love that.
And so again, that was happening while he was married to Inez, the mother who raised me. So just to kind of give some context, like one of the many reasons why we have such different experiences. I mean, obviously you, Benet and Brianna, even though you were raised by the same, dad and mom in the same house, you all have different experiences, but we really have different experiences as these love children, these family secrets. Yeah, it was crazy. And I knew Daddy was Keith's dad before Keith did. So I'm like 12 years old, 11 years old when he told me, and that was another secret that I was expected to keep. And that was a few years before Keith finally was like, "Look, are you my dad? Why are you doing all this stuff?" I was like, but so it's crazy. So we can get into all of that. But I just want to. So in terms of answering so the question again was,
at some point, you stopped seeing Joe just as dad. When did that shift happen for you?
I'm a late bloomer. I had idolized. I mean, Brianna can tell you, it's like as recently as 21 when she
last
came
week.
Yesterday. The crack. It took until 21. I was 60 or whatever. It's like I was 59 before I was like willing to face like my like straight up anger. Like fuck him. I just could. I was 59. You know, there were so many compartmentalizations. So yeah, and it's so I was the latest bloomer. It's like you all, I mean, Keith was appropriately angry at the right time. You all were abandoned in a very kind of clear way by his death, and you all had to deal with that. But it took me until like 5 years ago to like get angry and like, what was wrong with this man? And and he's not just my sun, moon, and stars. It's like it's like so yeah.
That's crazy. I don't. For me, he never was not dad. He was never dad. He was never not dad until, again, so I'm a late bloomer, not as late as Bambi, but he was always dad. And then he died 3 days after my 14th birthday. So I never really got to evolve. I just started to mourn, and I lived in mourning for 20 years. And then as I started to develop and go back to therapy myself, that's when I started to see that he wasn't dead, but he was already dead for 30 years.
Yeah. There you go.
Brianna?
Me? Oh, me? Oh, me? I'm just kidding.
Yes.
I'll never forget. So when I realized that my father was more than my father and was a complicated human, was actually Bambi's coming out party. So I was 22 and I got a flyer in the mail. Do you guys remember snail mail? And it was a picture of Bambi sitting in a garden. And the first thing I thought was, I don't remember taking this picture. Like, that's weird. Why am I in a picture in a fucking garden? Whatever, right? Legit.
Yeah.
Thought I was Bambi in the picture. Realized, opened the fucking pamphlet, was like, oh, it's Bambi. And at that point, we had been estranged, right? So the last time I saw you guys before this was Daddy's funeral. So I was 11. So basically 11 years later. Oh, we had that one meeting at City Park at 15. Yeah, so I was 15 then, 14. So I hadn't seen anybody. Well, I hadn't seen you two in 11 years. So 11 years later, I get a mailer in college, which is really incredible that you actually got it. In hindsight, it's actually incredible that you got it to my house in Humboldt because I was only there for a year and a half, right? So it was really interesting. Anyways, I get a flyer in the mail. I said, what the fuck am I doing in this fucking garden? Oh, shit. That's not me. That's my sister Bambi. Holy shit. We look alike. Like, okay. Then we read the whole pamphlet that she sent, and it's all about her birth circumstances and about how her father left her for our family and how, Keith didn't know his dad was his dad and that he left her. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So then I said, oh, Bambi's fucking crazy. So I call Mom and I say, Mom, you're never going to believe this. Bambi's fucking crazy. Mom, check this out. Bambi sent this fucking crazy mailer talking about how daddy this and that, man. Damn, Bambi's really fucking crazy. And then my mom said,
and at that point, she got quiet.
She's worse than quiet. She's worse than quiet. You know what she says? Bambi's mom would be really furious. Inez would be furious. I said, why? Because Bambi's crazy? She's going to be furious because Bambi's crazy? My mom says he promised Inez he would never tell. I'm like, tell what? That Bambi's crazy, right? Like, what the fuck? Right. Like, she'd be really upset Bambi's crazy. Like, we're all really upset that Bambi's crazy, right? And then she's like, says something else. And I'm like, right, no, but Bambi's crazy. Right? Like, Bambi's crazy. And then she says something else. And I'm like, this shit fucking happening? Like, what? I was like, who the fuck was my dad? Who the fuck is my mom? And I should probably call my siblings.
That was a pretty eye-opening event for you. Okay, I love it. I can't wait till we dive in a little more. So
I was like, oh shit! Bambi's not crazy! My parents are fucking crazy! What the fuck y'all do to this girl? What the fuck? What the fuck?
I love it.
She's crazy. Fuck y'all, dude. So
I love it. So
that's when I realized my dad was a complicated figure and a complicated man. But I gotta tell you, there was some relief because before that, I think I was really plagued with this idea that he was watching me and he was looking down on me. He was very disappointed in me because, of course, I had been into drug use and I was a wild child. And I was thinking, you know, if he would be so disappointed in me. I read that shit. I was like, oh, this motherfucker's fine. He ain't judging me. Motherfucker's crazy. He's crazy. I'm crazy. We're all an apple tree. Apple tree. So at that point, it kind of freed me. It kind of freed me to understand that my dad was complicated, and there was no way he was judging me, that he was loving me, and that the reasons I am the way I am are probably in large part due to the way he was. And so it gave me kind of an out there, which is kind of interesting. So thanks for that, Ben.
Oh,
before that, it was this very like two-dimensional, larger-than-life, heroic, very great guy who integrated this and that. What a hero. What a champion. Yeah. But I didn't know he'd done some real fucking janky shit.
Right. So my last question, because we're going to wrap it up here, is, oh, go ahead, Bambi. Tell me.
Just to mention, we haven't mentioned up until this point that not only did he become a doctor, by this point, he's a psychiatrist.
Yeah, he's a psychiatrist.
Talking about the cobbler's children not having shoes.
He's a psychiatrist. He's a psychiatrist. We can have a whole episode on that by itself. Thank you very much. So I want to know. I want us to go around one word, maybe two, but why are we doing this now?
Oh, I
why,
have more than
why
a
are
word.
we waiting till now to
I'll
do
go
this?
last because I have more than a word.
I'll go
Because
first.
God brought us together.
Okay.
We weren't
Because
together.
y'all told me to.
Okay, there's Rihanna.
Because you said, we're doing a podcast. And I was like, well, I want to come. I like being involved. I have FOMO. Y'all are doing it. I'll be there. But like, yeah, I don't know why we're doing this now, but I know I'm here because you told me to be. And I want to be a part of this.
Okay.
You know what? And that's the truth is, I'm only here because you guys asked me to be here. Because you said because I love you guys and you asked me to be here. I would never do no shit like this. Okay.
So let me remind us,
and I'll do anything with you guys.
I love it.
Whatever you want to do, I'll do it.
Me too.
So
okay.
let me refresh our memory. Right. First of all, we've been talking about we should write a book for what, 10 years? Like each from our different perspectives. So that's come and gone and nothing has come of it. But I'm going to get emotional. I was in a very bad situation. And each and all of you rallied, talking about heroes. Brianna, you probably saved my life. God sent you to come and exactly at the right time and help rescue me out of a situation I wasn't clear how in danger I was. And God used you to save my life. I really believe that. And then when I reached out to Keith, he was right there. Girl, I got you. I'll come with a gun if I have to. And I reached out to Benet, and Benet and I, we've been less in touch than we had been in other times. Yeah, oh man, you were right there. You were the divine masculine in my life. having my back. I got you. I could call you, and you were there. And I mean, without hesitation. Then when Benet and I connected, when I came through, it was like, girl, I completely understand anything that was between us. You're like, it's done, it's finished. I am here for you. I understand. We are more alike than you realize. And it was Benet like, we need to do a podcast based on, again, the experience that she has been amassing from her disability podcast. And boom, and she has put this thing together with such power and beauty and brilliance. And all I can say is, whatever our estrangements have been, when I think, I'm like, basic things that we don't even think to, it's like they never brought us together as siblings. It was basic things. It was like the first time we kind of got together intentionally was after he died at City Walk, right? 3 years after he died. That's the first thing I can think of. But while he was alive, he didn't try and bring us together in any kind of intentional way, like, oh, let's have a family vacation, or let's do something for her. That didn't happen.
Let's have some sandwiches in the backyard, damn it. Shit.
I remember meeting Keith with Keith's brother and being like, why does my brother have a brother that's not my brother? And nobody talking to me about it. I had no idea. I was like, who the fuck is Michael? And why the fuck isn't Michael my brother? And like, why didn't a fucking single adult from here to Mississippi say shit about it?
No, all they can do was like,
here's your brother. Here's your brother's brother. This is Michael. Michael's not your brother. Like, yeah.
It's crazy. And then the next time we got to, thanks to Carolyn, Keith's wife, and her bodybuilding competitions. I mean, that really, the fact that we got together as much as we did over the years, I mean, it really a glass raised to Carolyn. But for me, why we're doing this now is like, we're going to heal. I am committed to this being a healing for each of us, for myself, for each of you, and for us together. And that, again, and if anybody else looks at this, that's fine. I hope they get something from this reunion, but it's for us. And I do believe, and on top of that, is that when we come together with the courage, with the charisma, with the genius that each of us have, and that the world is a better place when we are healed and we are united. And it's not reunited, because we've never been united. Right. In some ways, we were pitted against each other, whether they did it intentionally. I don't think they did it on purpose, but I have my theories. I think there were some insecurities going on, and so we're here. So we are, yeah, right. And that right there, that's the outtake right there. Everybody was crazy.
Everybody was crazy. There you go. Everybody was crazy. There you go.
But here we are now.
Point of insanity. All this shit got to be bad.
It's crazy. But here we are now. And so that's why I'm doing it. And it's like, again, it's like, and like over the years, even though, again, with all my pain and all the different things that I was going through, it's like, there would be moments when I was like, as messed up as some of what Daddy did to us, it's like, I know he would be turning in his grave, that we were estranged in the way that we were. And so every now and then I'd throw out a little hook, and try and, establish some contact. Every now and then it was hard because I had a lot of pain. The way Daddy left when I was 11 and all that happened afterwards, there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of pain. But you're
the reason for the season, baby. You're the reason for the season. I mean, you're the glue.
Yeah.
You're the glue.
Yeah. But I'm like, this would break Daddy's heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This would break Daddy's heart. And so, and we deserve better, and we deserve better. So that's why I'm doing this podcast.
I love it.
I'm just going to speak to that for a second, because I think in some ways you are the most directly traumatized by him, and for you to still carry that for us and for him is really incredible.
Yeah, man, they did you dirty. That was some dirty shit. That was some dirty shit. I mean,
it's interesting because the reason why I'm doing the podcast kind of feeds into what happened. And so I was at a disability Christmas event, and we had, I agree with everything everybody has said. We were at a disability Christmas event, and I was speaking to the person across the table from me, and she was talking to me about her sister. And then I was like, oh girl, me and my family are going to write a book. Like, if you could even truly understand or even comprehend what we have been through. She's like, tell me about it. So I start to just, drop little nuggets. And literally, the first thing she says is, oh, Bambi's the hero. Like, Bambi's been through the most. We need to rally for Bambi. I need to see this. I need to hear this podcast because we need to rally for Bambi. Like, oh, wait, I need to hear Bambi.
Yeah.
Bambi really got it.
No,
Bambi
she got
really
it, man.
got it. She got it.
Both
She
barrels,
got it.
12 gauge. Shit.
Yes.
I mean,
Bambi is the hero. Yeah.
She's like, she was just like, oh, I'm Team Bambi. I am Team Bambi. So that is why she's going to be watching, because she is Team Bambi. She just kept saying, oh, it's all about Bambi. I need to tell me when this is happening.
Girl, she ain't even ready. She ain't even ready.
She ready.
Wait till she sees Bambi. Like, she ain't even got to see Bambi.
And it wasn't even that I was telling it from my own perspective. I was telling it from all of our perspective. But it was also interesting because when I was telling it from this perspective, how we would weave in and out. You know what I'm saying? And we talked about different titles for this, but we would literally weave in and out. Like, I remember after City Walk, the next time I saw Keith, that was a very interesting interaction between the two of us. And we
is that in the emergency room over there?
Oh,
we
Keith,
can talk about that later.
You don't remember?
Huh? No, when was it? Was that at the hospital?
Yes, that was at the hospital.
Yeah.
That was at the hospital. We'll talk about that later.
When I was looking to whoop somebody's ass, boy. Shit.
And then we we stuck
like your daddy. Like your daddy.
And then literally I rekindled with Bambi, and then I kind of tried to rekindle and do some kind of detective work, but we've basically just been weaving in and out. So I want to finally have us in this time that we have left together as the four of us to really hone in and really, like, this is our time capsule. This is our healing in front of everyone. And I just think, why not document it for us, for our lineage, for our family, for our friends, for our new family and friends that we meet who are also needing healing or wanting to hear a really fucked up story, and then be on Team Bambi. And we got to it's Team Bambi. I mean, we're going to literally have an episode called Team Bambi. But I think that's...
I have so much to say for that episode. I'm so
excited. But I want to end with this. This podcast isn't about rewriting the past, but it's about understanding it so it stops writing us. Ooh. So yes, we'll take a breath there. But Joe Boyd is the thread, and we four are the fabric. And this, as our pilot episode, is where the healing begins. So I'm going to say thank you for taking the time to listen to the beginning of our journey. This is Inherited Truths, and we'll see you next time.